city, can I have the ranger's name, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Matthew Paul.
Okay, and last name for me, please?
My last name is spelled P-A-U-L.
Okay, Mr. Reed, the process for appeal on these administrative matters is that the city presents first. So whatever information, evidence, documents, statements, testimony they have, they go first. Then you have a right to cross-examine them on their testimony, whatever they, either evidence or documents or paper, you have a right to cross-examine. Then you have a right to testify and tell me what you'd like about this. If you have documents, photographs, statements, witnesses, you can present those at that time. The city has a right to offer a short rebuttal, and then that's essentially the hearing. Order is not issued today. It's not an oral order that I issue. It's a written order that is sent to you at your last known address within 7 to 14 days of today's date. In that order, I either affirm you and dismiss the case, or I affirm the city and impose whatever obligation they have. So it's one or the other, and I explained that in the order, what I found and why I found what I did. You have the right, subsequent to that, to file an appeal. Normally, the appeal can be to the district court in the city and county of Denver. It's called a Rule 106 appeal. There is a procedure in the rules that allow there be an appeal to the Director of Parks and Recreation as an interim step. But you don't have to agree with, I decide. Rangers don't have to agree with me, you don't have to agree with me. And sometimes there can be a two-step appeal, either to the Director of Parks or straight up to the district court for the city and county of Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Hearings are recorded for that reason, so either side can file an appeal.
Okay.
Okay, any questions for me at all?
Yes. What is your role in this?
Okay.
Are you a former judge or?
Yes, I'm a former county court judge and a former district court judge.
Okay,
And
so
I'm on call with the city to hear these appeal cases. I just don't work for Parks and Recreation. I'm an on-call administrative hearing officer for the city.
Okay.
But I'm a former county court and district court judge in Denver.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay?
Mhm.
All right. Well, if you don't have any questions, we'll go ahead and get started. I'll swear the ranger in first. Ranger Paul, if you'll raise your right hand for me, please. Do you swear or affirm independently of law, the testimony you give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
All right, if you go ahead and identify yourself and tell me what you can about this matter.
So my name is Matthew Paul. I'm a park ranger supervisor for the city and county of Denver. So at approximately 12:15 on December 19th, 2019 in Civic Center Park, I, Denver Park Ranger Supervisor Matt Paul, and Denver Park Ranger Evan Cutler, and Denver Park Ranger Brian Westerfield were on routine patrol of Denver Park property in Civic Center Park. I was enforcing Denver Park Ordinance 39-3A, which is the park curfew. Basically says that the parks are closed between the hours of 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. And on approximately on the property of Civic Center Park, there was approximately 25 unidentified individuals, and I had gone through, contacted them, informed them the park was closed, that they needed to pack up their belongings and start exiting the park. I was in the middle of the plaza at Civic Center Park. If you look at this map that I provided, I was approximately that blue star, and Mr. Reed was the red star. He was on the edge of the park property there, on the sidewalk. After I contacted approximately 25 individuals, I then noticed Mr. Reed standing there, so I approached him with Ranger Cutler, and we identified ourselves as Denver Park Rangers. We were complete uniform, complete with badge. We approached, I informed him that the park was closed between the hours of 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., and that they were on park property, and so therefore in violation of Denver Park Ordinance 39-3A, park curfew, and that they would need to exit the park. Mr. Reed then informed me that he was live streaming me on his phone. I told him that was completely fine, but he was still in violation of park curfew. Mr. Reed refused to exit the park. He was insistent that he wasn't in the park and that he was on a public sidewalk. I explained that the entire area of Civic Center Park was zoned as park property. So Denver Park Ordinance 39-3A, park curfew does apply. If you look at one of the maps provided, you'll see the zoning map of Civic Center Park. It'll be the second page of the map document. You can see that the zoning does actually go halfway through the street, of Broadway. It's all zoned park property. On the third page, you can see the breakdown of that zoning. It's the zoning code at OSA. It's scheduled open space, public parks, and I have a description of that below. So after I informed him that park curfew does apply, Mr. Reed disagreed and insisted that he was on a public sidewalk. I explained that he is allowed to, move through the park or move along the sidewalk, but he can't stop. Mr. Reed was insistent and was throwing in accusatory questions like, you don't even know anything about public right-of-ways, do you? And you don't know how many rule signs are in the park. After I realized Mr. Reed wasn't going to comply with my lawful orders to come into compliance with Denver Park rules and regulations, I gave him a lawful order to provide me with his identification. Reed ignored me, so I asked again. He again ignored me, so I asked again. This pattern continued until he finally provided me with his identification. I issued Mr. Reed citation number PR 008914 for violation of Denver Park Ordinance 39-3A park curfew and Denver Park Ordinance 39-224B, which is the non-compliance with identification due to my multiple lawful orders for violation of identification. This was in the total amount of $250, $100 for park curfew, and $150 for the non-compliance with identification. I explained the citation was administrative, how he could pay his fine, and his right to appeal. Mr. Reed refused to sign the citation. I then asked Mr. Reed if he had any questions for me, and he asked me, how do I sleep at night? So in an effort to avoid additional confrontation with Mr. Reed, I broke contact and walked away. After a few minutes, Mr. Reed still hadn't left the park, and he yelled out to me that he couldn't read my name on the citation, so I provided him my business card that included my name and the Ranger Assistance Line number in my email. Mr. Reed made a point of filling in my business card, and he was argumentative and non-compliant throughout the contact. So I'd then like to refer to Mr. Reed's appeal letter. As he says, he was in fact on the sidewalk there along Civic Center Park at the time in question, which is that 12:15 a.m. He says he's not guilty of 39-3A, which is park curfew, or 39-24B, which is the identification, because I lack the authority to enforce any park rules or regulation outside any park boundaries. So I would like to reference that in our park rules. I have complete copies for you, but I also provided a shortened down version, because our park rules are 44 pages, and our chapter 39 rules are another 18 pages. So if you refer to this document, which has authority at the top, this is copied and pasted word for word from our rules. It's just a little shorter document, so you don't have to try to flip through 44 pages.
I have the full thing.
Oh, right, yeah, that's great.
That I brought.
Yeah, I've got copies of the full rules as well. So, as you'll see, under authority, I am granted authority within the city and county of Denver on city and county of Denver owned land to enforce park rules under chapter 39. If you will look a little bit lower than that, under the subsection F, it has definitions of what parkland is, what recreational facilities are, what park facilities are, and I'd like you to refer to F1, which is the definition of park and recreational facility. Those jointly include, but are not limited to, recreation centers, swimming pools, golf courses, and clubhouses, playing and athletic fields, ballparks, basketball courts, tennis courts, natural areas, open space, historic parks, skate parks, bicycle courses, trails and paths, pavilions and shelters, picnic areas, playgrounds, fountains, waterways, and water bodies, and historic structures located in parks, park roads, and parking lots associated with park recreational facilities, as well as the Denver Zoological Gardens, the Denver Botanical Gardens, and their associated facilities, all operated under Denver Parks and Recs or through cooperative agreements with the city. This definition includes a sidewalk and or tree lawn located in the right-of-way immediately adjacent to a park or recreational facility. So if you flip to the next page, you'll see our chapter 39 rules, which are like my authority again, as well as what the definition of park curfew is. So, under A, 39-3A, it says, "It shall be unlawful for any person other than authorized personnel to go upon or remain in a park or other recreational facility." Bear in mind, our definition of a park or recreational facility does include the adjacent sidewalk, and it's staying within those boundaries of the city between the hours of 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. So therefore,
What was the
under,
number you're reading again, I'm sorry?
it's,
39?
yep, it's the second page of this document. On the bottom, it says 39-3, which is the curfew enclosures under subsection A.
Okay.
So, according to Mr. Reed's appeal letter, he himself asserts that he was on the sidewalk at Civic Center Park. He even says that he was adjacent to the park, which is exactly what the definition is of park property. It's the park as well as the sidewalk adjacent. And so therefore, he was in violation of 39-3A. I did have the authority to contact him. And through that contact, because of his continued refusal to provide me an identification, he was also in violation of 39-24B.
Okay. Okay, have that.
In addition to that, he was also in violation of 39-24A, which is the lawful order, because he refused my lawful orders to, exit the park. Although on the date in question, I just decided to give a verbal warning for that and cited him for the 39-3A curfew and the 39-24B, which is the failure to provide identification.
Okay. This document that you've given me,
Yes, sir.
It was prepared by you, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it was prepared in anticipation of this hearing?
Yes, sir.
And this is normally done in the normal course of business?
Yep.
Right?
Yes, sir.
The photographs that you have and/or the maps, those were taken either by you or from city sources?
Yes, sir. I used the city zoning maps to provide you with the zoning maps. The top image is just a Google image of the park, just so you can see where we actually were in the park. Mr. Reed is the red star, which is right there, like off the side of the park there, like on the park property, but still under the definition of park.
Okay. I'm gonna mark this as Exhibit A. I'm assuming you want me to enter this into evidence as an exhibit for the city?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Reed, the city is asking that this document, and I'm sure you have a copy, but apparently you said you did.
Yes.
Would like to have this included in the record on this hearing. You may have questions about his testimony, which is fine, but as related to this document, do you have any questions about this document or objections to this document being admitted and considered by me in deciding the case?
Yes, I do have questions on the map of the zoning.
That's right, you can ask the range of those questions.
I don't know that he's qualified to answer them.
That's fine, you can just ask him, and it's on the record, and we can go from there. If you can, you can.
Okay, so I wait for to present my questions to him after?
Yeah, no, you can do it right now if you like,
Okay,
just as to the document.
just to that document?
Yeah, or whatever
Um,
your question or the issue you have. Later, you can ask him more wide open questions.
Right. All right, any questions here? All right, under zoning laws, what qualifies the park to be owned just by zoning saying that's what is allowed there?
So I don't determine zoning laws. That's not something provided by me.
Mhm.
I do know, however, that it is owned as park property. It's owned by the city and county of Denver. It's under the definition of a park, and therefore my authority does apply.
I mean, where is the actual boundaries of it, according to the Public Works?
Well, so according to our definitions of park property, the boundaries of Civic Center Park go from Broadway on the east, Colfax on the north, Bannock on the west, and then 14th on the south.
Okay. Your definitions, yes. Nowhere in the DRMC does it state that. So do you have anything that shows that the property lines of the actual park, other than zoning? Because zoning is a general area of what's allowed in the area, not who owns it, not, it says what can be there, but not who owns it, doesn't define property lines exactly.
So again, it does say in the DRMC that a park is defined by a number of different things: recreational centers, swimming pools, golf courses, clubhouses, playing and athletic fields, ballparks, basketball courts, tennis courts, natural areas, open space, historic parks, skate parks, bicycle courses, trails and paths, pavilions and shelters, picnic areas, playgrounds, fountains, waterways, and water bodies, historic structures located in parks, park roads, parking lots associated with park and recreational facilities, as well as the Denver Zoological Gardens and the Denver Botanical Gardens and their associated facilities, all operated under DPR or through cooperative agreements with the city. This definition includes a sidewalk and or tree lawn located in the
excuse
right of
me.
way immediately adjacent to a park or recreational facility.
Excuse
Civic
me.
Center is a park. By the definition of a park or recreational facility, it does include the adjacent sidewalk where you were standing that night.
There's
Hold
one
on a
issue.
second.
There's one issue with that.
Hold on one second. What number of the code are you referencing?
So I'm in the DRMC, I'm in Part 2, F1.
Part 2?
That's Parks and Recs rules, that is not in the DRMC.
Okay, yeah.
So this is the DRMC document, it's page 9, Part 2, F1.
And what you're looking at is the definition of park facility means any one of the following.
Yes, sir.
That's what you just read. Okay, fine, that's fine. Okay, Mr. Reed, I'm sorry I cut you off, go ahead.
That definition is not in the DRMC.
Do you want me to hand it to you?
I have it right here, but what you handed me, but it says park rules and regulations. It does not say it's the DRMC.
So, okay, this document right here is the DRMC. There's full list of rules. I gave you a shortened version. This is the full copy. You go over here on page 9, middle of the way up, under Part 2, Section F, subsection F1. That is the definition of a park or park facility. Or excuse me, park and recreation facility.
Don't mistake what I'm saying, Mr. Reed. I think what the ranger is saying is that the rules that he's referencing are listed within the Denver Revised Municipal Code. It's a subset of the Denver Revised Municipal Code.
I have a full DRMC listed here in this, and it is not located in there. It is listed in their parks and recreation rules on their website, not in the actual DRMC.
And my understanding, my impression is that the departments have rules and regulations.
Yes,
Those rules or regulations are part of the DRMC. It's a subset.
yes, I'm
The
saying that that
DRMC.
definition that he gives is not in the DRMC defining that they have control of the sidewalks.
Okay, that's fine. Because it is a subset of the DRMC, its rules, it is part of the DRMC, from my understanding. I'll look it up, I'll research it, I'll read it.
Mhm.
But the rules and regulations for the department are part of the Denver Revised Municipal Code. They have authority.
They're not listed in there though,
I don't know, I'll have to look it up.
So I might be able to.
and I know why they're not listed too.
So, when you came in and filed your appeal, you were provided with 2 documents. One is the Chapter 39 code, where the definition is not in, right here. It says park, with a reference to the DRMC, which is the other document. And on page 9, under Part 2, that's where you're gonna find the definition of a park and recreational facility.
All right. And Mr. Reed, you had more questions? I'm sorry?
On the zoning part?
Well, no,
No.
just on his exhibit. You'll have a right to ask him more questions, but yeah, any questions about either the zoning or whatever his exhibit or document refers to.
Well, he didn't answer, I don't think, if you had some way to say that the actual boundaries were in there and it's not actually listed in the DRMC, so.
So as I stated before, Civic Center Park is a park. It provides by the definition of park in the DRMC, including the surrounding sidewalk, which is where you were on the night that I cited you for curfew.
The only place that is listed though is in the Parks and Recs rules and regulations that you have published, not the DRMC though.
Again, sir, it is in the DRMC, and I can physically hand you this document if you'd like.
This is the DRMC. You can find it in here.
Look,
I would be very happy.
this-
The actual
I don't know
Denver
what documents-
revised municipal code, not the Parks and Recs rules that you have in your hand.
I don't know what documents you provided, I don't have a copy of that. I
I
do,
have-
however, have a copy.
I could
of
let
the
you
Denver
look at
Department of
this.
Parks
Okay, hold on one second.
Recreation.
You guys can go back and forth, that you agree, disagree, back and forth. I'm gonna get a copy of both of them, what both you have, and I'll decide. That's my job to decide
sure.
whether or not the context of this falls within the parameters of the DRMC. That's the
Okay.
point. That's fine. Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Reed? About this exhibit?
No, not at this point, no.
I don't know if you have an objection to me looking at this or not. If you do have an objection, you can verbalize your objection. If you don't, that's fine. But this, what he's given me is what I'm gonna label it as Exhibit A.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
what I'm looking at, which says right on the top of it, Parks and Rules Regulations,
Right.
not the DRMC. The DRMC goes on to the next page where it says Chapter 39 of the DRMC, and it does not give a definition listed in the DRMC.
Okay, all right. I'll note your objection to this. I'm going to admit Exhibit A, which is the Ranger's information, supportive testimony of what he's saying. Whether it's true or not, that's what I have to decide. Whether it's relevant to this case, I have to decide. But I'm going to admit Exhibit A. Ranger, do you have any other testimony at this point in time?
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Reed, any questions in general now for the Ranger?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I have lots of questions.
Go ahead, just go ahead and ask. Just give him a chance to answer, but go ahead.
Okay. Do you have an ID on you, sir?
I do.
Okay. Do you have any law enforcement training?
I am trained by the city for code enforcement, and that was the job that I was, performing that.
Okay. Do you have any training on giving lawful orders?
I do.
Okay. Do you consider asking someone if they have ID on them a lawful order or a question?
I think it can start as a question, but on that night, I did tell you I'm giving you a lawful order to provide me with the identification.
Okay. How many times did you ask me if I had any ID on me?
I'd have to reverse the video you made, but it was numerous.
Okay. At what point did you demand an ID?
From the start, when I realized that you weren't going to comply with my lawful order to exit the park and come in compliance with park curfew, and it's at that point I had to issue a citation since you wouldn't comply with my verbal warning, my request.
Okay. Do you have the power to arrest someone?
I do not.
Okay. What happens if a person refuses to provide an ID or a name to you for you to write them a ticket?
So you come into violation of like additional, codes like 39-24B. If you continue to, refuse to comply, at that point I'd have to bring out Denver police, and they could arrest and fingerprint you for that.
Okay. How much time passed between the first time you asked if I had an ID on me and when I provided an ID?
A couple minutes maybe, yeah.
Okay. At what point did you give the lawful order to provide the ID that how long before I provided it?
Minute or two.
A minute or two? So So it's all a minute or two? Okay, we'll see that in the video. I do have video evidence that I provided them of the incident, the entire incident.
Okay.
So you will see that him asking a question of if I have an ID on me did not constitute a lawful order to provide that ID. That it was a question, just as I asked him the first question. All right. Have you wrote any tickets to people waiting for the bus on Colfax and Bannock?
I have only written tickets to people who were in violation of 39-3A.
The
I mean,
bus, the bus stop at
on
Colfax,
the shifts.
the bus stop on Colfax and Bannock is on what you say is park property, and that bus runs during the hours that the park is closed. Have you written any tickets to anybody for waiting at that bus stop?
I have not contacted anyone at the bus stop. I have yet
Why
to see
not?
anyone at the bus stop.
Why not? You've never seen them? You've
Because
never
they
been out
haven't
there?
Been at the bus stop. Because no one's been there.
No one has been there? Were you aware that a bus runs there and stops at the stop at the park? And people can wait at the park there?
I haven't seen a bus stop at Colfax and Bannock.
It's just right out the door here. You know, you can see it from the front door.
I have seen a bus stop off of Colfax that isn't in Civic Center Park. It's across the street, like on the north side of Colfax.
That's what I'm talking about, on
That's
the north
not in
side.
Civic Center Park.
Yes, it is. According to your map, what you're saying is your property, that you're saying that's Civic Center Park.
According to my map, it shows that the zoning code ends in the middle of Broadway, runs all the way south to 14th.
No, I'm
goes over
talking
Bannock.
about Bannock, right out here. That, right along Colfax. If you look at the map, that, one of your maps here, I got another map. And the bus stop is on the map.
Yes, that's in McIntosh Plaza. That's not part of Civic Center Park.
Right there? That one?
So across the street here is McIntosh Plaza.
This one right here. Right here on the south side of Colfax.
I haven't contacted anyone there. I've yet to see anyone there.
I'd like to enter this in as evidence that the bus stop is located there, plus there's another bus stop right on Broadway.
Okay. And so
There's-
we, hold up, let's keep track of all this. I'm gonna mark this as number 1 for Mr. Reed, okay? But just, we gotta keep track of this for the record. So I'm gonna mark this as number 1 Reed. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Reed.
So do you think it would be sensible for them to put bus stops in locations where the park would be closed?
So I don't have any authority to determine where bus stops are placed. My authority is to enforce Denver Park rules and regulations under Chapter 39 in parks and on park property.
Well, you're claiming that that's park property, so why haven't you contacted anybody there?
So I would contact anyone who's in violation of Denver Park property. I can't account for people that I do not see in violation.
Okay. I would also like to enter into evidence of the bus schedule and the time that would be in conflict with the times of the park being supposedly closed for being on the sidewalk.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll note for the record that Mr. Reed has given me a 2-page document. Apparently of a bus schedule in the area, so I'm gonna mark this document, this 2-page document, as number 2 for Mr. Reed. Okay.
Okay, under the parks rules and regulations, you have defined the rule that the sidewalk belongs to you.
That it is part of the definition of a park, yes.
Of course, I beg to differ that because that sidewalk belongs to the public's right-of-way, and it is listed on the maps in the city of Denver as a right-of-way. Going down Broadway, 100 feet wide, with 74 feet of that right-of-way being the roadway, and the remaining roughly 14 feet on each side of the roadway being the public right-of-way. So the authority given to control public right-of-ways was the city in Denver.
Yeah, hang on one second. That's fine. But if you have a question, if you don't have any more questions for him, that's fine. You can go ahead and start testifying. If you testify though, then I gotta swear you in.
Right.
So I don't know if this is a question or if this is testimony.
Let
It's your
me
call.
get back to my questions then
Okay?
before I bring this in. Let's see here. Do you have a degree in law or any training in laws other than parks and recreation rules and regulations?
I know my training is under Chapter 39 City Code.
That's the only thing that you know then is,
I mean, I know a lot of things, but that's where my training lies for the city here is under Chapter 39 City Code.
okay. In relation to zoning, if I owned a house at 12th and Washington and you stood on the sidewalk, could I have you arrested for trespass on my property?
Again, sir, that's not park property, and my training lies, my expertise lies on park property under Chapter 39 of the City Code.
I understand that, but you also say that under that the zoning gives you the right to control that property, so you must have some understanding of zoning for that to be true.
So I'm sorry if there was a miscommunication here or a confusion, but my authority comes from the Denver Park rules and regulations and the city code under Chapter 39.
Okay.
So what gives me my authority is that I was appointed by Happy Haynes to enforce Denver Park property. To enforce Denver Park rules and regulations on Denver Park property.
Right. So do you have any understanding of zoning?
Just as far as to, my role in knowing what's park property, I provided the zoning map to help show you that it is zoned as park. But ultimately, I cited you that day because you were in violation of Denver Park rules and regulations. You were on Denver Park property and that you refused to comply when I told you to come back into compliance with Denver Park rules and regulations.
Okay, so you have, other than the map, you have no idea what zoning means, is what you're saying, other than it's supposed to be the park.
So what I'm saying, sir, is that it's Denver Park property. It constitutes the definition of a park. Therefore, my authority applies. Therefore, you were in violation of Chapter 39, 3A, and I contacted you and you were cited because of that.
Okay. Let's go back to that one question though, about if I owned a house at, like, say, 12th and Washington, and you stood on the sidewalk, could I have you arrested for trespass on my property for standing on that sidewalk?
I'm gonna jump in. I don't know if it's not at a park spot, then it's not really relevant. It's not gonna help me to decide the case.
Well, it would help with the zoning, because my point is that whoever owns that house at 12th and Washington, or any other house, owns to the street all the way, and they have to maintain that sidewalk, but that sidewalk is a public right-of-way.
Park there. Is 12th and Washington part of
No,
the
it's not a
park?
park, it's residential.
He's just saying that
My
he has no
point
authority.
is that it's a public right-of-way. The sidewalk is a public right-of-way, and you cannot have somebody arrested for trespassing for being on
Well,
that public right-of-way.
You can make the argument, this is fine, I don't really, that's your point, but to ask him if he can enforce it under zoning, when it's not a part, then it's not relevant to me at all.
Okay.
You can make the argument or statement, that's fine.
Okay, I understand. All right, skip that one then. I'll have to skip that one too. Am I required to answer questions from law enforcement or someone acting under the color of law?
Again, sir, as I've stated in the past, I am not law enforcement. I am code enforcement. And on that night, I was, working in my job as a code enforcement official for the city and county of Denver when I contacted you in violation on park property, and I issued you a citation.
You didn't answer that. Am I required to answer questions from a law enforcement agent or someone acting under the color of law, such as yourself?
Well, so like as I said, I'm not acting as a law enforcement agent.
You are acting
as a
under
code
the color of
enforcement
law
official.
of the authority of the city. I understand that. But the question was, am I required to answer questions?
So under our rules and regulations, when you're in violation of a Denver Park ordinance, like you were, you are legally supposed to provide me with identification when I request it, or when I give you a lawful order to do so.
So, do you have an ID on you, sir, is a lawful order?
So I can ask you a question, provide me with identification. I can tell you to provide me with identification
At what point did you tell me to provide identification?
multiple times to the contact.
No, you pretty much said, do you have an ID on you, sir? Multiple times. At no point did you say, provide an ID.
So from, my recollection, and obviously there's a video of this, I asked you to provide me identification, I told you to provide me with identification, I gave you a lawful order to provide me with identification.
Well, that's to be seen on video.
Okay.
Do you know what the Fifth Amendment is?
Sir, as I've stated a few times, I'm a code enforcement official. My purview, my authority, my expertise is under Chapter 39 code.
So you have no idea what the Fifth Amendment is? The right to remain silent, not to answer questions?
As I said again, there's nothing under Chapter 39 that says you have to answer every question that I ask you. You
I don't have to
however,
answer any of them.
Provide me with your identification when you're in violation of a Denver Park ordinance, like you were.
Okay, do you know what the First Amendment is?
Sir, again, I am an enforcement official with the city and county of Denver. My expertise is under Chapter 39 code.
Okay. Do you understand that there's case law regarding the First Amendment and public sidewalks?
Sir, as I've said multiple times here, I am employed by the city and county of Denver as a park ranger. My expertise comes to Chapter 39 code.
Okay. Why did you skip the end of the report there?
So that had to do with threats I received from the video that you put on the internet. Those threats did not come from you, so.
Why was it on the report then?
Because I received threats and it was pertinent to the contact.
Did anyone guide or coach you in writing your statement or tell you to include any specific part?
No.
So on your own, you put that on the end of it?
I mean, besides my training as a Denver Park ranger.
So nobody asked you to put that on the end of your report?
I mean, I am instructed, I'm trained to put any information that I find pertinent onto my officer statements, which is what I did.
How was it pertinent then if you excluded it from your testimony?
I mean, it's not excluded from my testimony. I provided it in documents that are part of the exhibit.
Okay. Do you have recordings of these threats?
Yes.
Did you bring them so that we can hear them?
To this, no. Since you were not the threatening party, those are in evidence with Denver police that they can be provided.
I actually brought them myself.
Okay.
I was concerned after I was notified of the hearing that this was on the report, because I didn't get the report until notice of the hearing. I was concerned about that particular part on your report, that some of my viewers would threaten your life. So I contacted the person you claim made these threats, and I was provided.
Okay, that's not relevant to me right now at all.
Okay.
If he explained why he did it, if you want to offer it for me to look at something or see something, I'll do that, but in terms of the hearing, it's not relevant to me at all.
Okay.
In a few minutes, we'll see. Go ahead, Mr. Reed.
I think I'm about done with the question part.
Okay.
Is that I can think of at the moment. But I do have other things that I can add to, the testimony part.
Okay. All right. If you're done asking questions, you can testify. If you can raise your right hand for me, please. You swear or affirm in the penalty of law the testimony you give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
If you can state your name, spell the last name, and give me your address, and just go ahead and proceed.
John Allen Reed, R-E-E-D. And what was the other part you wanted? The address or?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Since
You
it was
go ahead.
given at the
You
beginning?
give it already. Go ahead,
Okay.
Mr. Reed. Tell me what you'd like about this, if you would, please.
Okay. While researching all the codes and everything, the only definition I found was under the Parks Rules and Regulations for their definition only. It was not listed in the DRMC. I specifically searched the DRMC very thoroughly over it, including using their search engine to find any definition of the parks and recreation facilities and definitions of everything. I did find that the Denver street system, which is covered under right-of-way, under the Public Works section. And it states in here that the City of Denver owns and operates pieces of property which are dedicated as right-of-way for transportation and utility needs. The responsibility to operate, maintain, and permit work in the right-of-way falls to the City and County of Denver Public Works Department. So
Could you give me that section and number, please?
I will give you the sheet here in a second.
Okay.
The right-of-way provides the legal right of use for pedestrians, vehicles, and other conveyances. It generally includes roadways, connected tree lawns, sidewalks, and alleys. The right-of-way is also utilized for important public services such as emergency police and fire response, waste pickup, and vital utility infrastructure such as electrical wires, water, wastewater, and storm water conveyance. This goes into a vacation of the right-of-way, which generally refers to the right-of-way being removed from a property, such as the residential area. Since this is public property, it cannot be vacated. So the Public Works says they own it. And here's the paperwork on that.
Who's Biggie?
Okay. Again, just to keep track of all this, I'm going to mark this as number 3 for Mr. Reed. And for the record, it's captioned as the supporting documentation, street and alley vacations. I'm assuming the source is referenced at the bottom, Mr. Reed?
Yes, it is from the Denver website, from their Public Works section.
All right.
The next section that I have from the Public Works is similar to what he gave me that shows parks rules and regulations, which states in it, under the authority of the city, Denver City Charter, Article 2, the Denver Revised Municipal Code, Chapter 49, and by other ordinances and regulations, the Denver Department of Public Works manages the public right-of-way. Therefore, the park does not own the right-of-way. Only by their definition in their parks and rules and regulations is it stated that. It is not in the DRMC. This is.
Okay,
Start. Go ahead.
we're gonna mark this as number 4.
This page refers to encroachments, but it also states their authority over the public right-of-way, which gives them full authority, and they cannot give the rights of that public right-of-way to anybody else without going through other channels. And Ranger Paul has not provided anything that says that they have ceded over the right-of-way to the Parks and Recreation. So it also, I did not give you the full thing, but it is on the Public Works site, which says about the encroachments, including the fact that if somebody wanted to put something on the sidewalk, they would also have to get the permission of Parks and Rec if it was going to be in front of a park. But overall, they have full control of it, other than that, other than something being placed in front of a park. I also have the general definitions listed from them, which state the right-of-way, an area of land owned or controlled by City and County of Denver, dedicated by City Council for the purposes of constructing, operating, and maintaining public facilities such as streets, alleys, sidewalks, and bike paths for the needs of transportation, utilities, and other public infrastructure. So I don't know if you need the general definitions that are put up for that in Public Works Department, which does have the authority of the definition.
Okay, if you just give me the exhibit and Ranger Paul, that's fine. Okay. This will be number 5. Okay.
I'm not sure if I included in my original the maps from city engineering, of which maps I included, which included the mapped area of the right-of-way, which states that it's 100 feet wide, and
Just give it to me now, just, I don't know.
because I don't have extra copies of this
Oh, okay,
particular
that's fine.
one is the problem, but the maps are located in this building.
Let me see what you got now.
These are some of the older maps that show the cloth maps that are upstairs in the mapping section of the engineering of the Public Works.
Well, we gonna make you some copies of those, David? That'd be perfect. Thank you. Yeah, let me run and do that. I'll bring these right back, sir.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Reed, anything else?
The video evidence,
Is it I can't view it now. What I'd like you to do is send it to me. And it's really not gonna do me a whole lot of good long-term to get a video now to look at it. I've gotta be able to look at it when I'm writing the order. So if you could send it to, actually, what you'll send it to is to Lance, and then he'll forward it to me.
he has a copy of it
Yeah.
already, and I have a disc here for you.
Yeah, if I can look at that, that's fine. I'll mark that as an exhibit now, and then I can look at it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is a video that you made, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna mark
This is edited because of the time of my video. My original video was over 2 hours long. This is a shortened version, which I did provide with them, which nothing has been edited out between the sections of the actual video.
Okay. Okay, now you recorded this on the night of the incident,
Yes,
and it was recorded by you.
yes.
What sort of device did you use?
This phone right here.
Okay. so it's a
Samsung
phone,
S10e.
okay.
It was live streamed on the internet. The shortened video is also on the internet on my YouTube channel.
Okay, now are you filming this or recording this?
What do you mean?
Well, you asked before if you can record the audio, and I said, yeah, because I was, but are you?
Videoing, yes.
I'd rather you not do that. This is
Okay.
this is a hearing, but
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a
Well-
show or whatever. You can record
Yeah.
the video or the audio all you want, that's fine.
Just turn it that way so
Yeah, the
the
audio's
video,
fine.
the
That's fine, I don't care about that. So this is a video that you made, and we marked this as number 7, okay? And yeah, I'll look at this, whatever it is, I'll look at it.
okay.
If the city has a different version, they want me to look at that, fine. If it's the same, that's fine as well, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that, okay? What else do you have?
Okay, get to my original appeal.
Okay, your appeal letter. And I may have that already, but you can show it to me, and then,
It's in the, yeah, you should have it. It should be in the packet that he handed you, I believe.
I've got a document here, captioned Notice of Appeal. Is this yours?
Yes,
This is yours?
yes it is.
Okay, I have
The front pages of that. I wish to state there is case law regarding
Right. Okay,
the
okay.
public right-of-ways
Okay.
involved with this situation.
All right. Yeah, I do have that, and that'll be part of the record for sure. Okay? And it looks like this is, okay? Any other information, documents, testimony you want to give me right now?
I do believe that would be it
Okay?
for that part of it.
Well, yeah, just whatever you have, whether it's this part or that part. Is there any other information, evidence you want to give me right now? Because now's your chance, okay?
Okay, well, the video evidence alone speaks for itself.
Okay, that's fine, sure.
Uh,
Okay, so, okay, that's all the evidence.
Actually-
What I have is 1 through 7 from you. And I'm gonna ask Ranger Paul. Ranger Paul, do you have any objection to me viewing these and making these part of the record for the appeal from Mr. Reed?
Oh, yes, sir, the shortened video, I do. Lance has the full video in its entirety, and I think, the full video unedited would be more appropriate for the.
I don't mind looking at both, so if you guys have a full copy of it, I'll look at that too.
It's really not that different. It's the ends chopped off of it and a little bit of the front of it to the more pertinent stuff of what happened at the place.
Okay, well, we'll see what the city has. If they have a full version, they can send it to me. If you don't, that's fine. Either or. But I'll go ahead and look at you. But short of that objection, Ranger, do you have any objection to anything?
Oh, no, sir.
All right, we'll go ahead and admit the exhibits offered by Mr. Reed, 1 through 7, including number 7, which is the video.
What I do with it.
Okay? Anything else, Mr. Reed?
Okay, I wish to state that filming law enforcement officers who are performing their duties is protected under the First Amendment, and when constitutionally protected activity takes place in a traditional public forum such as public street, the government's power to restrict such activity is sharply limited. I was engaged in First Amendment activity of recording the park rangers under their authority of the color of law. The public right-of-way from which I was cited is a traditional public forum. Normally parks are too, but in this case the park has a curfew. The area is freely accessible. It is virtually indistinguishable from public sidewalk because it's a public sidewalk and marked as a public right-of-way on the city maps. It is within a category of property that is traditionally public and historically used for expressive activity. The government cannot close such a forum to restrict speech with which it disagrees. The fact that people are free to travel along the sidewalk is testament to it being open for everyone to use, and that the Parks and Recreation Department wish to claim ownership of the public right-of-way to limit its use violates the public's trust, as well as Denver ordinances and charter, which hands out the authority to departments to handle specific areas. In specific, they were given the authority to control the Parks and Rec under section 2.4.4 of the city charter, which is stated already in the papers. But under section 2.3.3, the powers and duties of the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure controls the public ways, thoroughfares, and other public facilities. Therefore, their authority on that public right-of-way is null and void, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many lawyers. So, with the statement of under the authority of the Denver City Charter, Article 2, the Denver Revised Municipal Code, DRMC, Chapter 49, and by other city ordinances and regulations, the Department of Public Works manages the public right-of-way. That makes his ticket null and void, in my opinion. And there is case law that says that, and I probably don't need to go over the case law if you have the papers already, and you'll probably cover that, specifically being, let's see here. Find the actual site on that.
Anything you want to show me, or are you ahead for me? That's fine.
I'm just trying to go over and looking for the site of the actual, the United States versus Grace is what it is, and it's opinion of the Supreme Court for the public sidewalks within a city, and it's 100% on point of this case of what they're saying and what I'm saying.
Do you have the case number for that?
It's completely listed in there.
In your information you gave to me.
Yes, it's in the packet that he had handed you as well.
Okay,
So
good.
it is there.
All right, gotcha. Perfect, thank you. All right. Ranger Paul, any follow-up, or is that it?
Yes, sir, I do in fact have some follow-up.
Okay.
So Mr. Reed, in his explanations, he said that it is a right-of-way. It is a sidewalk. And again, I want to reference under the park definitions, park and recreational facilities, it includes a sidewalk and or tree lawn located in right-of-way immediately adjacent to a park or recreational facility. Again, under Mr. Reed's own testimony, he says that Public Works is the person who's solely responsible, is the agency that's solely responsible for sidewalks. This is false. He even then follows up and says, unless it's along the park, then you have to get authority from DPR in order to erect signs, I believe this is what you said. Numerous agencies do have authority on public sidewalks. For example, Denver Police, They do have the authority to enforce rules on public sidewalks. It's not just the Public Works. In addition to Denver Park Rangers, when it's adjacent to park property, we do have the authority to enforce Denver Park rules.
Okay,
Can I add something to mine?
Sorry, continue. That's
you
fine.
done?
No, sir, I'm not done.
Well, go ahead.
And then he also continues on and says that he has the right to film there. However, like, he's more than welcome to film me, happy to have him film me while doing my job. He does, however, have to follow all rules and regulations. And as he himself said, at the time, the park was closed, so he could not film in the park. And as I've stated multiple times, under the definition of the park, the sidewalk is included, which is where he was.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Ranger, is the person that's in the hearing today, John Allen Reed, is that the same person that you encountered on the date of this offense?
Yes, sir, it is.
And you were able to identify him today?
Yes, sir.
And this offense occurred in Civic Center Park, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And is that located in the city and county of Denver, the state of Colorado?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Mr. Reed, one brief follow-up, because we've got to move on, but a brief follow-up, go ahead.
Okay. I wish to state that I did not fail to provide ID to him. At 21:23 in the shortened video, the ranger states the park is closed. At 21:57, the ranger asked, "Do you have an ID on you, sir?" At 22:28, the ranger asked, "Do you have an ID on you?" At 22:30, I asked why. At 22:47, ranger asked, "Do you have an ID on you?" 22:50, I asked, "You want to give me a ticket? Is that it?" And 22:53, I asked, "Why do you want my ID?" Ranger says at 22:58, "You are in violation of Denver Parks Ordinance." At 23:01, I say, "I doubt it. I doubt I am in violation. This is a public access right here." At 23:08, Ranger says, "Failure to produce ID result in additional violations." At 23:13, 5 seconds later, I say, "Sure," and pull out my wallet to pull my ID out. At 23:23, I say, "You guys are being live streamed." At 23:32, Rangers handed my ID, which is less than 30 seconds after he states that failure to produce my ID result in additional violations. I feel that he added the extra charge in there because he was aggravated of failure to provide the identification, when in fact he had only asked me if I had an ID on me and never actually demanded the ID ever.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. I have all the documents presented by both sides. There were objections each way. As I noted, the objections were noted for the record. Mr. Reed, as I said, I'll have to go through all of this. Issue a written order will be sent to you at your address in Brighton. Order will also be sent to the City and County of Denver Parks Department. Either side then has the right to appeal whatever I decide on this case. Okay? All right, we're off the record. Thank you so much.